Billy Joel is one of those artists who you definitely know several songs by. In the 1970s and 1980s, he released hit after hit after hit, and many of these songs still show up on the radio all the time today. What's the matter with the car I'm driving? Can't you tell that it's out of style? Captain Jack will get you by tonight. Just a little push and you'll be smiling. Hey, yes, you had to be a big shot, didn't you? You had to open up your mouth. Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest. He is one of the most successful music artists of all time. In fact, here are some of the musicians he's outsold: U2, Aerosmith, Jay-Z, Bruce Springsteen, Fleetwood Mac, and the list goes on. Although Billy Joel was raised Catholic, his parents are actually 100% Jewish. And one time he wore a Star of David, a yellow Star of David, pinned to his suit at a show in order to make a statement. Because as we're about to find out, Billy Joel's family has a direct history of being persecuted by the Nazis. It's quite a sad story, but ultimately comes with the triumph and success of a better life in the United States. I'm Yona Paley, and I believe genealogy is fun. And on today's episode, we're going to be going over the paternal line of Billy Joel, going back to the region of Bavaria in Germany. William Martin Joel was born 1949 in the Bronx to Howard Joel and Rosalind Nyman. Howard, whose original German name was Helmut, was born in Nuremberg, Germany, into a prominent and successful family who owned a textile business. They fled the Nazis, first going to Switzerland and then to the United States. And what happened was that Helmut's father, who was named Karl Amson Joel, was targeted directly by the Nazis due to his success in the textile manufacturing business. At one point, Karl had one of the most successful mail order companies in that region, and after a big smear campaign, they forced him to sell his company at a loss to a competitor. The guy he had to sell the business to was a famous horse rider turned business person named Joseph Neckerman. And in the 1950s, Karl successfully sued this guy for taking his business away and managed to get some money. But the damage was already done. And in fact, Karl would struggle with another business in the United States and never returned to the levels of success that he had back in Germany. Karl's father was Julius Joel, and he lived in a city called Kolmberg in the region of Bavaria in Germany. He married Sarah Schwab, and the couple had 8 children. At least one of these children, Karl's brother Leon, was murdered in the Holocaust, and in fact, a page of testimony can be found about him on Yad Vashem. The rest of Billy Joel's line was pretty easy to figure out because on Family Search, there were a decent amount of records indexed for Kolmberg, Germany. So we know that Julius's father was named Fenst Joel and his mother was Mina Ullman. And that Fenst's father was also named Julius Joel and his mother was Esther Hahn. Since Fenst was born somewhere around 1807, That means that Billy Joel's great-great-great-grandfather, Julius Joel, was born sometime in the 18th century. The profession was merchants all the way up. And as we can see by what happened to Karl, the Nazis ran a successful campaign to destroy his business and ruin him financially, and he just managed to get out of the country at the right time. Now, we all know about the death and destruction that happened during the Holocaust, but another thing that happened too was rampant exploitation and a callous disregard for people in general. So as you can see, even people who had pretty good standings in society still were not immune whatsoever to the wrath of the regime. Billy Joel has been known to be very outspoken about his family's past. So when he does something like wearing the Yellow Star of David pinned to his lapel, he's making a very personal and real statement. His own father fled the Nazis, and at least one of his great uncles was murdered by them. The Holocaust is a very heavy topic, but it is part and parcel to doing Jewish genealogy. And hopefully, even in the year 2021, we can learn from the past and realize that by looking at these records and seeing the real impacts that this destruction had on the Jewish people, that it's not some distant thing that happened. This is a recent thing, and the truth is the people living in the places at the time, they didn't realize that this was going to happen. So when people talk about never forgetting, this rings completely true, especially when you're researching somebody's family, because you realize that everybody is a result of all the things that happened to their family over periods of time. So the only reason why there's a lot of Jews in the United States or in England or in South Africa or in Australia is because of rampant persecution that happened. And the only reason why people find it so difficult to learn about 2, 3, 4 generations into the past is because a lot of these people scattered around the globe or were wiped out completely. And sometimes there were not even witnesses to bring back the news of what happened to these relatives. So hopefully by doing this kind of research with genealogy, we can at the very least piece together some of the puzzles that are created by cutting a family apart. And that concludes this video. I really do hope you got something out of it, and as always, I'm looking forward to bringing you more videos on famous Jews, as well as tips and tricks you can use in your own genealogy research. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.